Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk review show. A little bit of a different one today. We're going for a review before the game, potentially half-time if I can be asked, and then of course full-time because the Sunderland Central Scotland branch is having a unofficial me and Phil?
Yeah, we're going unofficial.
We're going unofficial.
We've got the flag though.
So we're going to be giving you like really bad predictions before the game. With me is Phil Wilson from the Sunderland Central Scotland supporters branch. Phil, how are you doing? You alright?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you, Graham.
And Danny, how are you?
Yeah, all good, mate. Good. Looking forward to it.
You've got a mixture of success on the show, to be honest with you, though, Dan, because you've had a 5-1 defeat, and I remember you came on after a win. I can't remember when it was, but are you feeling confident?
Yeah, what was it? I think it was one of the home wins. Oh, there's the train.
Oh, there's the train. Lovely.
Classic on-the-fly recording. I'm not confident, but I'm not confident. As I said before, I'm a classic on-the-fence sitter, so I do think they can put in a performance today, but I don't know what that performance is going to be.
I have a horrible feeling with that because Pompey's either the best home game of the season or the worst home game of the season. Obviously, people might just heard a train there. Hopefully, it hasn't cut out everything you just said there. But that is the benefit of recording, obviously, on a phone before the game. Phil, obviously, Patrick Roberts signed yesterday. There's a lot of furore, is that the word? About Jermaine Defoe and whatnot. But essentially, he's not here as yet. Might not be here at any point. Massive game, ultimately. What's your thoughts on the game today?
Yes, so obviously we've travelled down from Scotland in hope and more than expectation, as usual.
We're always hope.
we're quite well practiced at that. Looking forward to 2 o'clock when we see the team sheet. I think just now, obviously, you never quite know who's managed to pass the COVID test yesterday and who hasn't. But I would like to see Roberts on the bench, I imagine, if he's obviously just signed yesterday. And we're always hopeful.
I heard the rumour that before, Dan, that Pritchard obviously came off last week, and that Pritchard has not been. Well, I think it's best to say at this point in time when we're speaking, he might potentially be 50-50. Patrick Roberts, the rumour I heard was that he actually was been training with the team since Monday. We'll go with Patrick Roberts from the start. Do you think it's worth sticking him in straight away, especially if Pritchard's out?
I think especially if Pritchard's out, yes. I didn't know if he's been training. That's great. I would expect him to be on the bench. I know Pritchard came off at half time in the last 2 games, or even early on in the last 2 games. So he's definitely been playing through something, which is a shame because obviously he's been our best player for the last 2.5, 3 months nearly. So if he is struggling, then yeah, why not? I know he's not played much, but if Roberts is fit and he's been training that long and he's got to know the team and what they want to do and what Johnson wants him to do, then we haven't really got that many options in that kind of creative role. So I'd absolutely give him a go. See what the team sheet comes out, but we've got to try something different because I think creativity in the last couple of games has been lacking. I know obviously we can point at defensive, issues that we've had, but also we haven't created a lot in the last 2 games. So bring some fresh blood in, some fresh ideas, go for it. Why not?
It's quite an interesting thing as well, Phil. I quite like doing this, by the way. I just switched the phone at different sides of it. It's quite fun. Obviously, at the time of speaking, we don't know what the team is at the moment, which is probably a fuck up from my side, but such is life for ever the professional. But we're coming up against a side today that defensively are actually pretty sound, especially over the past few games. They don't actually concede many goals to Portsmouth. Danny Cowley's made them really solid defensively, especially from a statistics point of view. And obviously, speaking to Hugh before the game, he was saying defensively they're pretty sound, but 5th least highest scorers in the league, or 5th worst, whatever you prefer. I don't know what the correct terminology would be. They don't score many goals, so potentially 1 or 2 goals could win it today. So we need someone to pick the pockets. If Pritchard is injured, how are you going with it? Do you maybe even go potentially playing Aidan O'Brien? Am I talking silly? Do you go straight with Patrick Roberts?
Well, I think we've both discussed my opinion on Aidan O'Brien.
I wish this was a video podcast because your face when I said there was Aidan O'Brien, mate. It's like I think you're going to say no, but carry on.
We all have our favourites, and he's not towards the top of my list, shall we say? So no. I would imagine perhaps if we've got Evans back today to play in alongside Neil, we've obviously got Winchester in there as well. I would imagine Embleton would be the one to push in behind Stewart in a bit more of a creative role. I really hope Pritchard is playing because if they are going to be defensively sound, and I know they play 3 at the back, so if Stewart's up against 3 of them, we're probably going to need somebody like Pritchard who has got that ability to just find the little pass which can get us in. So 20 minutes or so, we'll find out. I'm a bit worried that the fact that he has struggled the last couple of games, he's come off, that he's not going to be starting today. Roberts, just don't know. I mean, obviously we've seen him at Celtic, we've seen him at Borough. He's obviously not played a lot in the last year or so. I'd be highly surprised if he was thrown in from the start today. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, me too. I mean, obviously Patrick Roberts is someone I watched quite a bit. Unfortunately, thought he was quite a good player for Celtic from my side. Not hide my allegiances at all with that. But I think, he hasn't played very much, and there's been a lot of comments about Defoe not playing very much. Patrick Roberts played about as little football as he as well. But if he can play to the level that he can play, what we saw at Celtic and then flashes at Derby, I don't think he really did much at Borough. But I think, to be fair to Borough, they weren't exactly firing on all cylinders when he was there. Another wonderful train here. We are recording at the Fans Museum, by the way, if anyone's wondering. I think, talking about Patrick Roberts, he did do very well at Celtic. He obviously has got a lot of talent, and I think it's a really great move, Patrick Roberts. I think worst case scenario, he goes for nothing and he hasn't performed and he's been a waste of time, and we've seen many of them. Best case scenario, it works out. There's £14 million potential player playing in League One that could easily make the step of the Championship. He's never been down this low. I'm always seemingly a very vocal critic of Lee Johnson, which is, football is full of opinions, but Dan, I've got to be honest, I think, talking of the two signings that we've had this week, obviously Danny Bart, sadly not called Bath, which gives you so many good puns, but Danny has been brought in to plug the gap alongside Patrick Roberts, who I think are both really smart, clever signings. I've got to give him a lot of credit for that. How impressed are you by the two players that are coming in?
Yeah, I think, like you say, on paper it's very impressive. Like you can talk about rumours about other players and everything else, but if you just look at the deals that have been done on paper, they look very good.
What rumours were you thinking of?
I don't, not to get on a tangent, but we'll leave a Premier League striker out of the equation. But Bart, whatever you want to call him, it's a leaky defence. Keep on the pudding game. But from everything I read online from Stoke fans, and a big shithouse defender, which is what this Danny Bart sounds to be. And I'll admit I've not seen much about him, but just from what I've read. So again, on paper, it's recognising the strengths, and I think we talked about it in our group chat in the week about the model of signing players with potential and selling fees, and that's the model, and that we're all behind that. But at certain times, a 29, 30, 31 year old experienced player is exactly what you need. So you can just go and get them if that's what you want to do. Go and get them, which is what he seems to fit. And then Roberts is kind of the other end of that, like I say. So yeah, on paper, good business, and hopefully, we 22nd, still 8-9 days in the window to go. Hopefully we can add to that, because I do think there's still some more gaps to do. But the two players on paper, I think, are really good. It's a really good business from Lee Johnson, and hopefully we'll see the start of that today.
Talking about Danny Bart there, trying really hard to get the pronunciation right. I think it's pretty straightforward. Bart, isn't it? As in the Simpson.
Yeah, the Bartman.
The Bartman. Yeah, the Bartman.
I like
it. That's going to work. But I think, obviously, I don't know much about him. I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched his career in full, but I think he's been promoted twice from League One. He spent most of his career in the Championship. He's captained teams to get promoted from this division. On paper, that should be the big shithouse. Looks like Klitschko's third brother centre half, sort of tied up, Phil, isn't
it? I'll also be honest and say I'd never heard of him before we signed him this week, and I do consider myself quite a well-knowledged person on people within football.
I heard that about him, to be fair.
What I did know is, going back to the first season in this division, that we've continually struggled with centre-halves that can deal with the kind of long throw-ins, corners, the bombardment that we get from some of these teams.
Harsh on Glenn Louvens.
So, looking at the team we have now compared to the team in that first season, there aren't many left. I expect the Bartman is going to come in today. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't, and hopefully can help us with that, because if you look at the goals against column in the league, it's it's way worse than everybody else. So you mentioned Portsmouth earlier on, who are fairly solid at the back but struggle up top. I think we've got 52 goals going forward, I think
we're the best scorers in the league, aren't we? There or thereabouts.
Yeah, so we, that's absolutely worked for us this season, but we know we've got to score 2 or 3 goals to win a game, and if we're going to get promoted, that can't continue. So yeah, from what we've read and what we've seen and what we've heard from fans of Stoke and his previous clubs, that he seems to be the kind of guy that we need to get that defence tighter and stop these easy soft goals. We shouldn't be conceding goals like that.
I think I've praised Flanagan quite a bit on the show because of the form he's had, but he has been really poor the last couple of games, and I think the problem is when you have a player that's shaky and makes that many mistakes, the rest of the defence, especially when you've got an 18-year-old next to him, understandably shits himself a little bit, and I don't think Doyle's had a particularly bad couple of games, but it should be Flanagan sort of anchoring players like that through it. Hopefully Danny Bart will be the one that comes in and doesn't. I'm not asking him to be Franco Baresi here, but I think all we need is someone that's going to guide a young, very talented 18-year-old through the rest of the season. And I think, we've had 4 seasons of Flanagan now. I feel like I'm being really harsh because I do love Flano, but I think the past 4 games have shown that maybe, just maybe, he's not. There's a reason we haven't got promoted for the past 4 seasons when certain players have continued at the heart of the defence, and hopefully Danny Bart remedies that.
Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. It's not too much to ask that a defender just defends, and
yeah,
if there's a situation to deal with, they just deal with it. They don't, fall onto the centre forward and give a soft penalty away or turn their back on a ball which has been fired towards them. Let's hope he's the guy to sort that out.
Cue him having an absolute fucking stinker now. And Patrick Roberts staying on the bench. As I said, if people are listening and if for some reason you're tuning in 12 minutes in, we don't know the team lineup at the moment. We don't know what the lineup's going to be. We can have a vague guess, but
I am expecting a Stan Varga kind of debut today from the Bartman, so let's see what happens.
Definitely Kirsten now. I think obviously we'll let people go before, or we'll go before the game. We'll maybe catch up at half time, to be honest, if it can be asked, if not afterwards. So this could be a really contrasting podcast. Absolutely massive game. I don't think we can afford to drop points today because I think it is that tight. Might sound a bit dramatic, but I think we can't afford to go 4 games without a win if we want to get promoted automatically. We've done it once already this season. We can't continue it. But I predicted during the week a 2-0 defeat. 2-0 win even. And I think I'm going to stick with that. Don't really want to change to it. But Dan, I'll come to you before I go to Phil. How do you see the game going today and your prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1 win. I've got my lucky socks on, and as we've now dubbed in the Batman, score from a corner, 2-1 win.
I agree.
I'll take
it.
it.
Decent, not bad. And yourself?
Well, first of all, I'm quite superstitious, so I've found
is that why you wear your lucky underpants today?
Yeah, giving predictions has not worked out for me well in the past, so how about I text you the prediction, and then if it happens, we can obviously get back together after the game and see if I was right.
Text me just now and he said 7-0 Sunderland.
Sorry, just before we finish as well, I did promise our branch membership secretary Neil Emsley a happy birthday, happy 65th birthday today, Neil. I hope you're having a good day back up there in Scotland.
Is he 65?
Did you promise he'd say his age as well?
65 doesn't look too bad for 72, to be fair, but yeah, happy birthday, Neil. And if everyone's listening, we're speaking from the Fans Museum today. I'm sure many of you know what it is. Phil's managed to squeeze himself into a match-worn Conor Wickham shirt today. Believe it or not, Conor Wickham was a small. Didn't look that tight, but it explains a lot of things. But yes, fingers crossed we come back after the game or half time and things are looking a lot better. But Dan, thanks very much. Phil, thanks very much. Well, we said we'd be back at half time, but we decided, brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
Timing.
Hang on. Brilliant timing there, that was. But we said we were going to record at half time. We don't know whether that's going to be the case, so we've just got the team news. And considering the first 15 minutes was all about chats about Patrick Roberts and Tom Flanagan not playing, we've decided to come back. Obviously the lineup is as follows. I believe it's Hoffman in goal. It looks like a back 3 or back 5, whichever you prefer, Phil, of Flano, Callum Doyle, Danny Bart. You've got your wing backs look like Gooch and Sirkin, and then the middle Dan Neil alongside Corey Evans, who's the captain, Then you've also got your forward line of Embo, Ross Stewart and Leon Diaku. Not really what we expected, especially with Pat Roberts on the bench. What's your immediate reaction, Phil?
Yeah, as I said earlier on, it's always a bit apprehensive until we see the team news at 2 o'clock. I'm really disappointed Pritchard's not playing. I think with Portsmouth being so strong at the back, he was going to be the one that has been finding those little bits of magic to find the space in. So Embleton's going to be the one today to take on that role. I am pleased to see that we're 3 at the back. I think we struggled when we've been a back 4, so it should give us something we can match them up with. Evans back into the centre of the park as well, I think is a good thing. So focusing on the positives, we obviously can't worry about who's not there. We have to look at who is playing, and there's enough there to go and win the game.
Are you leaving the negatives for me?
Sorry?
So, you're leaving the negatives for me?
Yeah.
I did sound quite muffled there. That's because it's turned into the North Pole, I think, in the last 15 minutes since we recorded. We spoke a lot about Flanagan in the sort of 15 minutes beforehand, and obviously he's going to have a stormer now that we've had a bit of criticism of him, but I think we were probably quite surprised to see Flanagan in there. But the formation's changed. You touched a little bit before on Flanagan and kind of his form. We all did, really. Do you feel a bit more confident with him in a back 3?
Well, it's he's been playing in the middle of the 3, with Wright to the right of him.
Because it's like a back 4 that switches into a back 3, isn't it, when Bailey Wright's there? So I suppose we have been playing almost with a back 3 in a way, haven't we?
I imagine Flanagan is going to move to the right. He's going to take Wright's position, and the Bartman will be in the centre of the 3 with the Doyle to the left of him. So again, a slight change up as to how that's going to work, because Flanagan has been playing as the main man, but my worry has been that he's not been able to deal with these big centre halves. So yeah, we're a bit venturing into the unknown, because we got a debutant in there at the back, and we've got a lot of expectation that the holes will be plugged, Graham.
I suppose to be fair to Flanagan as well, I don't know if this being fair actually sounds quite offensive to be honest, but I think if Bailey Wright's fit, surely Flanagan is dropped, isn't he?
Yes, I think that's fair to say. He'd be the first one to say he's been to blame for a couple of the goals in the last few games, silly mistakes, and yeah, he's got a lifeline there. That Wright's not fit, which is a disappointment, but we go with what we've got.
And we do sound quite anti-Flano on this podcast today. I have to point out that from my perspective, we are sort of pro-Flano. He's the first person to be honest and hold his hand up and say he probably would deserve to be dropped, but good performance today, and then you potentially go, well, he's had a blip, but he's back on form. He's certainly not had that bad of a 4 games where his season's written off, as that we just need to see a bit more of the start of the season of Flano rather than the end of season Flano, or middle of season Flano, sorry.
You'll always get 100% from him, nobody can ever doubt that. Yeah.
You're struggling, aren't you?
I don't want to speak ill of anyone. Yeah, I'm sure he is a nice lad.
I like his hair.
He's probably the only one left now of that first season, which I was alluding to earlier on, who's still there. We're still here. Put 2 and 2 together. That's all I'm saying.
I think with Flano, prior to maybe the past 4 games, I would say he's been one of our better players in a not really odd way. But again, that's the people will point to Flanagan playing as being one of the reasons that we're still in this division. I know that's some people's opinions, but Tom, if you're listening before the game, which I highly doubt, putting a performance that you've shown at the start of the season, you've definitely got it within yourself. But Dan, I'll bring you into the conversation as well. Lyndon Gooch coming in for a lot of criticism over the past few weeks. He's gone to right back, or right wing back. What's your thoughts on the lineup, including Gooch on the right wing position?
Yeah, similar to what Phil was saying. Obviously, we'll see how they actually line up with possession, without possession. We'll see what they do. But I think you're right. I think Flanagan will move over to the right, and I think Bart will just sit in the middle, and he'll just hopefully just shithouse and marshal that back line.
Head shit and kick shit.
Yeah, exactly what we need, which might help the 2 either side of him, Doyle and Flanagan. But I think if you look at Gooch, he's one of those players. We know what he can do and what he can't do, and he went through a run of games this when he came back from his injury, and he was poor for a while. A run of games where he got a couple of assists and he was looking really good again, but then again last couple of games he gets back to his frustrating self where He's too wasteful. I just think he's too selfish sometimes. Head down, not enough focus on what he's doing. But I think playing right wing back, I think he's actually better, because I think it sounds silly, but like the more space he's got run into, the more time it gives him to think about what he's going to do. Starting from further back and then running forward, I think he's got more time to think of what he's going to do. So I'm hoping, and he's quite a streaky player. We talk about Streaky Johnson, but Gooch is actually quite a streaky player in my eyes, and I think today could be hopefully a start of him. And we look at the past when we've played Portsmouth, and you talk about the antics we've had with Maguire and Catamall and with the fans and that in the past. And I think Gooch is probably the one person in the squad that actually, because he's been here for the latter time he's been here, will hopefully get into this game from that side of things as well. And nothing daft, but get up for it and actually try to prove himself. So I'm hoping he can come back into form. I think he's good on the right, because we know he can go both ways. When he gets it right, when he cuts on his left, he's good. When he focuses and he gets some space on the right, he can beat a man and get a ball in for Roscoe or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they actually do play once. I know we've got the lineup and we can think what they're going to do, but come 3 o'clock it might be different. But yeah, I just hope Gooch can get back onto his form way, just focus on playing, and focusing on beating his man, getting the ball in the box and getting stuck in, because that's what he's good at.
So Lyndon, if you're listening, stop fucking about with it.
Yeah,
sort
exactly.
it out, and hopefully we're eating our words at the end of it. Because the lineup was so different than what not so different, it's not completely different, but it's not what we expected, if we're honest. There's no Patrick Roberts on the bench. We don't know if he's injured or anything like that. We might find out by this point that maybe he's just not fit enough, or maybe he didn't want to put him on the bench so soon because he only officially signed yesterday. The bench is a bit stronger than it's been in the past few weeks. The lineup's a little bit different what we expected. I think you said before the game 2-1. Are you sticking with the prediction?
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with it. Like I said, ideally we would have had at least Pritchard or Roberts, one or two, or both of them on the bench or in the starting lineup. But must be injuries, must be something like that. You would think. But we've got at least Winchester been on the bench. I wouldn't say he's a natural thought process as a game changer, but he is a good solid option to bring on to change things around, because he is versatile. You've got the unpredictability of Kimbioka and Diamond, and the pace and the power.
The chaos of Kimbioka.
The chaos. So yeah, I'm going to go with 2-1. I do think we're going to tighten up a little bit. We're probably still not there in terms of clean sheet, but yeah, 2-1. Still going for it.
Phil, you said 7-0 before the game. Does the lineup change your opinion on that?
Just to be clear, I did not predict any scoreline before the game, because that brings bad luck upon us all.
I'll show everyone the Photoshop text.
I am less confident than I was before we saw the team news, mainly because Pritchard's not playing. I thought he was going to be the one to find the bit of magic today, but as I say, still full of hope.
We talked about Roberts maybe coming in. I think Pritchard's a massive blow regardless, and we said maybe that, but we kind of half expected it. We said, could Roberts come in and change it? Roberts not even on the bench. Make you less confident? Are you surprised by that?
Yeah, we don't know the reason behind it, why he's not there. As you said earlier on, perhaps he's not fit. Looking at the bench, I guess Winchester maybe a little bit unlucky to find himself on the bench, given what he's put into the season so far. They brought Evans in because of experience, and the fact maybe Dan Neil, as good as he's been, needs a little bit of a experienced head alongside him just to sort of control things. Well, listen, Sunderland at home, Stadium of Light against Portsmouth. There's nothing we should be really worried about.
I was meant to be recording and saying welcome back, but nonetheless I forgot to press record. So welcome back. We just had a fantastic 15-minute spell where Danny basically spoke for ages and I just didn't press record, not on purpose, but we're back, we're on the train. I don't think I've ever done this before. The ambience, I don't know if it's going to work. Hopefully you can hear us. Phil, you've got a can open. How are you feeling? You alright?
Yes, I'm feeling good. Nice Hazy Jane Brewdog here for the wee celebration on the train home. Those last 5 minutes were getting quite tense, wondering if we would do a Sunderland and just obviously throw in a goal just to appease the opposition, but we didn't do it. So happy days.
And Danny, I'm going to pretend I didn't just ask you about 4 or 5 questions. How you feeling? You all right?
Yeah, exactly the same. Big win, big massive win. Clean sheet was the most important thing today, I think, as well as the 3 points. But I actually felt confident in the last 10-15 minutes. I didn't think we were ever looked like doing anything daft. I thought Danny Barr, as we've just been talking about without being recording, I think he brought that confidence and that kind of solidity to us at the back. I thought once we got the goal, and certainly the second half, they offered nothing in the second half, but I think it was just kind of playing still on the back. It was do the simple things well, get it cleared, and that's what we did.
Phil, I think by most people have obviously given man of the match to Danny Barr by lots of it. We'll come to other players as well. I think there's some good performances elsewhere, but obviously he was probably the standout. What did you make of his debut performance? He said maybe a Stan Varga performance. I don't know if it was quite Stan Varga, because that is quite a...
Yeah.
The player himself is not maybe a high mark, but his debut certainly was. But it was a good one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Obviously put a quite high bar out in the pre-match pod about a Stan Varga
When he said we'd win 7-0.
I didn't say that. I said I would tell you what we would do, and I actually said 1-0, and sure enough it was. But exactly what we've been looking for. It's only one game, and we should remember Stan Varga didn't ever quite repeat his debut performance.
No.
So, we should be wary of that. But he appears to be what we've been lacking for the last 4 seasons, never mind this season, just somebody to
5 seasons.
Deal with it,
yeah.
Deal with the balls into the box, and we will come up against teams who will have these big centre forwards and they'll throw the ball into our box, throw-ins, corners, free kicks, and we need somebody who's going to deal with it. And hopefully, first impressions are good.
Big fan of him just clearing people out like 2 or 3 times, like they weren't even there. I was just like, that's great, thanks. If you could do that more often, that would be fab. It wasn't like the ideal performance, Danny. Like, it wasn't perfect, but it was definitely, I think if I was to use one word, it was gutsy. Few unsung heroes in there as well. For me, the first one I'm going to pick out is probably Leon Diaku. Nothing really came off from going forward, but I thought he ran his bollocks off. You agreed with me on that. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, gutsy is a good word for it. I think the front three, it wasn't the best creative game. I think we missed Pritchard, as we said before the game. That was a good telltale sign, but Embo, Jacku and Stewart, to be fair to them, ran the bollocks off, closed down. Jacku, especially in the second half when he switched wings, just hassled them all the way through the game, and I think that's what they needed to do. Like, the few times he won it, yeah, his quality wasn't good, but he didn't give him a moment's peace. There was a couple of chances in the first half that probably should have come to, either a goal or a better chance, and obviously the goal itself came from closing them down. So I mean, you can't ask for much more than that. Even if quality is missing, as long as you hassle them and play them around, they weren't comfortable at the back on the ball, and they kept trying to play it. But as soon as you got in front of them, Roscoe did what he does every game. But I think Embleton, to be fair, I don't like him playing out wide, and to be fair, he moved around quite a lot. But again, it was just that closing down, hassling them, pressuring them, and that's where we got the opportunities from. One turned into a goal. There was 2 or 3 more that maybe should have done better. But like I say, unsung's the right way to do it, because it was just like maybe not the best quality, but effort was there. 110%, so that was really good.
I feel there's a lot of players who again, unsung heroes. I think Dennis Serkin was really good today. I think Callum Doyle was terrific. I think it was a really mature performance from effectively someone just legal to drink about a month ago, which I think is really, really superb. And I think he's a great player. I think he's one of those players you can see is going to hit at a much higher level. He's, in terms of genuine raw ability, I think Callum Doyle is one of the best we've had since we've been in Division 3. In regards to unsung heroes, is anyone that we haven't mentioned, Phil, that you feel deserves a bit of a mention?
Have we mentioned Evans? Have we mentioned? No. Second half in particular.
He was good actually.
He went. First half it was a struggle. I think nobody really enjoyed the first half. They were pressing us really high. We couldn't get our wing backs forward. Gooch and Serkin could not get forward. We were stuck on our own half. Obviously, we pressed them for the goal into a mistake, which was great. But second half, I thought Evans just went about his business, and all of a sudden, certainly the last half hour, we were suddenly winning those second balls, and he was getting on it, and he was doing the simple things. Great to see him last 90 minutes as well, which he's obviously struggled fitness wise.
Never going to do it again, is he?
I hope.
Sorry,
hopefully
Corey.
will. Hopefully
I'll forgive you if you bring your brother immediately.
So yeah, unsung heroes definitely. We know Daniel's very young. He's got a lot of ability, but just having Evans doing a 90 minutes alongside him today, and he got the nod over Winchester as well. Absolutely vindicated.
Yeah, it was a big shout there, I think. Not so much taking Winchester out, but playing Evans above Winchester, because I think Winchester might not win it, but he'd be in there for a shout for player of the season so far, probably Winchester, and he's played in 2 different positions and equally been very good. So I think big shout not to bring him in, especially them being, because I think he was only suspended, wasn't he? Originally I thought he was injured, but he was suspended last week because of his red card against Lincoln. Not very many hairy moments in the game, to be honest. I felt we would dire first half, if I'm honest. It was really poor, but ultimately I cannot really remember too many chances that Pompey had. Their fans were very quiet, I felt, which, like them or loathe them, they're not normally like that. In terms of performance, I think Portsmouth probably had a little bit more possession. I think officially they had more shots but less on target. It was a relatively even game, but I felt like we were just, especially in the second half, Danny, we were picking up those loose balls, and we've touched on Evans before, but I think ultimately it was Desire that won the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. And just touching on Evans there, I think what I enjoyed about him in the second half particularly was he just seemed to be everywhere, which for a man of his age and fitness was quite surprising. He was covering both fullbacks a couple of times. He was down in each corner covering the fullbacks. But also Dan Neil, I know he's got the plaudits this season for his creativity and that, but I think today he played a League One game the way that sometimes he needs to play it, in terms of he got stuck in and he won some headers, He won some tackles, and he won some second balls, which shouldn't really be his game, because obviously his game is getting the ball down, picking out a pass and pinging it around. But I think over the last couple of weeks where it's been a struggle for Dan, he's slowly starting to realise what else he can do in terms of helping the game. And maybe that's because of Evans back in, I don't know, but that was what the second half was about, in terms of, because they didn't have a chance second half. I don't recall them having a shot second half.
There was that header really that from Flanagan's mistake.
Yeah, again he had a couple of slices again, but it was Evans and Neil in the middle. As I said before, Jacko coming back, Serkin, and even Goose. To be fair, I mean Goose didn't do a lot again either end, but when he was there to win a 1-on-1 in the second half, he generally did. First half he was caught out in position a couple of times. I mean, I was sat on the southwest corner, so I could see down their left wing. There was a couple of times he was no man's land, and if they played the right ball, he was a bit out. But yeah, second half, I think everyone just kind of got stuck in. And even Aidan O'Brien, when he came on, I think I thought it was a decent for 10 minutes. I thought that was brilliant, because we were saying about it before. For 10 minutes, he did exactly what he wanted to do. He won the ball, he held it up, he played it at the right time, or he won a free kick, and I thought it was tremendous. So yeah, second half it was just about not backs against the ball, it was just this game management, which is what we didn't do last week. It's what we've not done in the last couple of weeks, and we did it actually for 45 minutes today, so that's really good.
It was the opposite in terms of game management to last week. Annoyingly though, Aidan O'Brien did do well when he came on, and I literally about 2 minutes beforehand said, you know what it is, 10 minutes to go, you've got Aidan O'Brien or you've got Jermaine Defoe that comes on, who you having? And I know we haven't mentioned him yet, however, Aidan O'Brien did quite well today, so well done, Aidan. Danny, there was one thing we were talking about that we were a little bit worried about before the game, and it revolves around our last trip, branch trip that we had, which I think was Ipswich. Obviously we have our friend who travelled all the way from the Isle of Lewis, by the way. That's fucking miles away for you, those of you who don't know. We're quite pleased to say that there's no one smoking on the carriage, Danny. Can you remember what happened last time?
I can't remember.
What happened again? Just for the viewers who don't know?
The viewers.
The listeners.
Long story short, train back to Scotland from Newcastle. One of our drunken friends from the wrong side of Newcastle supporting teams was on the train. Decided to smoke on the train. That's a non-smoking train. One of our branch members decided that's not going to happen. It's a non-smoking train, and politely told him to put that cigarette out. In
what way?
Well, justifiably.
Yes. Hope that picked up on the recording. Yeah. When we say ask him to put it out politely, stubbed it out on his forehead.
Put it this way: if you play with fire, you're going to get burned. That's the lesson. That's the lesson we learn. I still don't think that lad's made it home. To be fair.
No. But yes, if someone smokes on the... We wouldn't advocate that, of course. But... Yes, it's a tiring journey from Isle of Lewis, and patience can be tested.
Don't mess with the Central Scotland branch, is what we're saying.
Yes, pretty much. So it's been a bit of a different pod, as I'm sure people have noticed. Hopefully you've been able to listen to it, not been too much background noise, and I've edited this sufficiently to your listening pleasure. But as always, I always have the same question every single week. Danny, I'll come to you since I'm with you at the moment anyway. What does the result mean in the context of Sunderland's season?
I don't know what it means in terms of. I think it's massive to stop the potential streaky nature of Lee Johnson's stereotypes. I mean, I don't really go along with that. I don't really buy into that. But obviously, 3 games without a win, 2 draws and a loss, whatever it was, that was the importance. Portsmouth aren't necessarily a big rival in terms of playoffs at the minute or promotion at the minute, but home game, 3 points, clean sheet. So I think the importance, that's what it gives us. I think it gives the confidence at the back to keep a clean sheet again and to not get into a run of defeats. So I do think it'll give the lads a bit of confidence to go back into these bigger games, because Portsmouth, no matter what you say about being in League One, it is one of our bigger games in terms of that's what we've got to get it for because of the history that we've had with us since we've been down here. So to win it, even though 1-0, but still pretty comfortably, I think it'll give the lads a good bit of confidence and hopefully a good kind of foundation to now go on a good run of a good streak of back to winning ways. Hopefully,
I think when it comes to performances, you all want to have the Chef Wed performance where you've dominated a side that should be up and around you. But I think after the past few weeks, Wickham, Lincoln, and of course Accrington, and the kind of defensive messes that we had in a few games, is probably what you would want, I suppose, is that kind of performance that's not perfect but gritty and ground out, and ultimately, like you said, Danny, a clean sheet. Same question to you, Phil, before we shoot off and enjoy whatever it is that you're drinking. I'm going to have water, being a good lad on a diet. But what does the result mean in the context of Sunderland season for yourself?
Well, we came down this morning on the train and it was all about 3 points today because we've come off the back of a few difficult results.
It was all about the 4 for me, if you remember rightly. But.
And yeah, it wasn't the prettiest performance, but I've been long going on about just getting the defence sorted out because we cannot be going into games needing to score 3 goals to win them. And today, as I say, hopefully it's the start of things to come, that we're now going to be a lot more harder to score against. No silly mistakes that we've seen in the last couple of weeks. So yeah, we're second, we're joint top, we're level on points. At the top of the league. We've got Bolton away, we've got Doncaster home, and I think Cheltenham away.
Cheltenham on Tuesday
next 3 games. So looking at those 3 fixtures, as Dan said, we should be coming out of today with confidence, and now looking at those 3 games, if we can get another 1 or 2 bodies in, if their initials are JD, then so be it. If they're not, then whatever. But we're in a good place to push on. Happy days.
I hope it does begin with JD a lot.
Jack Diamond.
Yeah. Changed my mind. No, sorry, Jack. But I also successful bunch trip, 3rd home game we've been to, 3rd win, 3rd clean sheet. So if anyone wants to donate tickets to us for the rest of the season, even though I do have a season ticket, some of us don't, you'd be more than welcome to do so. Of course, I've been Graham, Danny's been Danny, Phil's been Phil.